H2 Mario. I'm a multi-Grandmaster Mech Terran player. I play mostly on the North America ladder with my Grandmaster account, and then I dabble in Europe, currently also trying to get Grandmaster. I am #1 Masters in Europe, and soon to be promoted. Some of these games that you will see are also played on Europe. I play Mech in every matchup and every game. In this tutorial I'll be showcasing 2 strategies, explaining some positioning, unit compositioning, and example games. This helps you get into the mind, inside my mind, the mind of a Mech player, and really unravel the mysteries of what I think is this 4th race. Mech is completely different than biological units and strategies. It requires different types of positioning and completely different follow-ups and attacks. Mech is played, you could say it's a whole other race, is what I'm trying to say, and I definitely think it's one of the more interesting ones to play. Here we go. In this section of the tutorial we're going to be covering the safe opening. It is by far the safest opening that I know, and it is the one that I use to deter any aggression at all, really. As long as we have as long as the enemy player has a hatchery down at its natural expansion. This will stop any and all attack that I have faced so far in at least 30 to 40 ladder games minimum, with a convincing way, as long as you micro properly anyway. So the way that this build works is that at 10 supply we are going to be making a supply depot. After the supply depot we will be making a barracks at 12 supply at the front. You do want these at the front of the ramp. After we drop this barracks, we want a refinery. The refinery is for a number of reasons. We get this refinery at 13 supply. There he goes. The reason why we get the refinery so soon is because our goal is to get up to a reactor pretty early on. We also want to get down an expansion early on, but the reactor allows us to pump out twice as many Marines without sacrificing a lot of gas. So a lot of fighting units for not a lot of gas and not a lot of minerals. If you combine the Marine with the bunker, they are one of the most optimal ways of defending early game harassment in every matchup. After the barracks is finished, we use the same SCV to build a supply depot. We also scout with an SCV while the barracks is building. We build an orbital command also the same time the barracks is finished. You can queue up this supply depot while the SCV is making the barracks, and then wait for when the barracks is finished to immediately make your orbital command. You can spam the B button when you know that the barracks is about to finish. The way that you can start the supply depot beforehand is if you shift queue it to build it. For example, if you hold down shift and they tell it to build a structure and then a supply depot, you can then place the supply depot in this location. You will see a green highlighted area. This will make it so that this will show you that the SCV is going to build a supply depot there the moment it's done constructing its current building. This way we do not have to start the supply depot and the orbital command at the same time. We can focus entirely on starting the orbital command right away, and then the SCV will start building the supply depot right away. As long as there is no Zergling rush, which this SCV should be able to see for the most part, as long as there are no Zerglings nearby, we can move this barracks. With this barracks we want to make a reactor, and then we want to move the SCVs that we transferred onto the refinery the moment it was finished off. The main goal of this is to get the reactor early on, and then have one SCV still mining gas, and then get our command center very soon. We set a rally inside of the base, even if the wall was in a different direction. If the wall off was here, we would still rally them inside the base even though the barracks would be on the edge and not the add-on. We're scouting out his base. We're mostly looking for a spawning pool, a hatchery, and a gas geyser. The gas geyser for the safe opener is not really of any concern. The biggest thing we want to see is that there is a hatchery in this location. Back at the base, if we don't see any zerglings and there isn't hatchery, we can immediately drop our command center the moment we have the resources at 18 supply. This means that you can move your SCV down at 17 supply, build it on 18, resume, or you don't stop SCV production, you keep up SCV production, but then you start marine production once this command center is down. You also want to start building a bunker the moment the marines are halfway to being done. This will line you up with some very early zergling attacks that you won't have to be concerned about if he has a hatchery. But if he does not have a hatchery, you simply build the command center on the high ground. You don't need a bunker unless you spot gas. Then you definitely need a bunker in case of baneling bust, and you put your marines behind. We then start a factory with our SCV the moment we have 100 gas. So once the command center is finished, we do place the SCVs back on the gas, and with the SCV that made the bunker, we make this wall of supply depots, one supply depot at a time. We do not need more for now. Orbital command right away. This is normally at 30 supply. And we keep a few marines going around just in case there are some overlords coming. We do like to build our supply depots at the edge, at least one depot here, or a depot here, in case this time we used a marine. This allows us a spot for overlords incoming. Alright, now once the factory has finished, we want to start a reactor with our other barracks, and move this factory on top of this reactor and start an armory. This allows us to begin Hellbat Marine production. As you can tell, our wall is coming along nicely. Before we get the Hellbats, while this armory is building, this armory takes 65 seconds to build. This gives you enough time to build 2 Widow Mines. You don't have to start them right away, but you definitely want 2 Widow Mines. Once the Widow Mines have started, you do want to get a starport. The Widow Mines are something you will place in these 2 locations. You want them close enough to the bunker that zerglings can't trigger them running past. You want them far away from the wall so that banelings don't accidentally kill them when trying to break down your wall. A good baneling bus will arrive your base at about 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Our Widow Mines are now officially in position for this baneling bust, and our wall is closed off. Once the reactor on the barracks is finished, we move our starport over to where this reactor is. This Widow Mine is a little bit too far from the bunker. We started Hellbat production and our +1 attack the moment the armory finished. This allows us to have 4 Hellbats out by the time our 2 medevacs, which we're just waiting on the gas for, and the minerals, our two medevacs, to be able to carry 4 marines over. Unfortunately, I do forget to start one this game. While the medevacs are building, about halfway through you should drop a command center, get your gas, and an engineering base. The fastest timing a 2-base Mutalisk play can reach you is 8 minutes and 45 seconds, approximately 9 minutes. Make sure that you know what your opponent is doing by scouting around the map with SCVs. Since he's dropping a 3rd hatchery, we do not have to worry about these. Even though there would be Mutalisks, our engineering bay would be on time to start building turrets. The moment we notice Mutalisks, we would have 2 Widow Mines to help defend, and a few marines. We would also be able to produce Vikings, which we are producing 1 now, and 1 medevac. This Viking is to kill overlords. This factory is something you place after you have established your gas, your engineering bay, and your command center, and your Viking. These are kind of the tip-offs. Once you've gotten all of these things, you want to drop a 2nd factory, and maybe even go up to a 3rd. With our drops, we're usually at this stage we would have two dropships, one heading for the third, one heading from the first. If there is no third, we would have it heading for the second base and the first base. In this case, since I forgot one of the medevacs, I send two Hellbats out on their own, and I go with the dropship. The Viking is for sniping overlords around the map. It does not matter if he scouts these dropships, and you do not have to commit to these attacks. If you know that you will not be able to do any damage, feel free to run away, or stay close to the edge of his base. Simply by scouting around his base and seeing what buildings he's going for, and moving around the map, having him know that the threat of the drop is there, could keep him from attacking you, allowing you to expand even more. You can see that I did drop the second factory. The crucial amount of units you want on two base economy, or production facilities, is you want 3 factories, 1 starport. You want 2 reactors, 1 on the starport, 1 on the factory, and then 2 tech labs. If you're going for heavy early aggression, or you scout heavy early aggression, you want to go up to 5 factories, 4 of them having tech labs, so you can produce siege tanks dispensing all of your gas as fast as you can, and using the reactor for Hellbats. If you do not have enough gas, you can use the other factories to also produce Hellbats. If you feel relatively safe and you can play greedy, feel free to drop down another command center before you drop down these other 2 factories. Our goal is to get up to 5 factories, or 6, or 7, or ultimately 8 in the late game, depending on what we scout from here on. Once this command center is finished, we will be moving it here. We will be placing supply depots along any entry point that we can to any singular entry point, so we would be blocking this off, or we would be blocking this off. This allows us to only have to defend from here or here, and if our units are already in the middle, it's easy to reinforce those places. Our dropships are now going in. The damage it's doing is irrelevant. We're now focusing on the build order. The whole opening leading into the mid-game, you want to constantly pressure him with Hellbats. You don't have to land them, but you do have to try to be out on the map. You do have to be aggressive. We do end up going for 4 factories this game. This is because when we scouted him out, we see that he's going for very greedy play with the 3rd base. 4 factories is kind of like a midway between 5 and 3. You can punish him a little bit more, but you can't be quite as greedy. But you can definitely be more greedy than 5 factories. You do not want to have 5 factories when you only have 2 command centers. You want to be up to 3 command centers. This gives you the option of expanding once you have a critical amount of units, and the option, presents itself the ability to expand by overwhelming him or good positioning. From here on, the entire game changes, depending on what we scout. But this is the basic build order. You will soon see me moving my expansion, securing the supply depots. You see the Vikings still moving around the map, dropships are moving out in many different directions, not always needing to do damage. Remember to not trade units poorly. You want to trade units evenly or better, but you must understand that if you lose too many units, you'll be open to a counterattack. Once the 4 factories are down, we get tech labs on them right away, and we start producing siege tanks. I am now playing extremely greedy since I have been able to weaken him in this game. He's constantly moving around his workers, and he's lost quite a bit, and he's not really able to attack me because I'm producing so many siege tanks. From here on, I'm playing greedy. It's very common that once you're on 3 base economy, that you can drop 2 command centers if you feel safe for extra SCV production and extra mule income. This greatly boosts your minerals and allows you to use minerals very freely. So you can use Hellbats, you can lose them a lot more freely. You can build a lot more supply depots for walls, missile turrets for drops or mutalisks, minerals when you're on 5 orbital command economy and 3 base are kind of just things you throw away. The gas is the most important part of the build.
Your forces are under.
In this build, we're going to be showing you double reactor Hellion pressure. This is designed to take advantage of a Zerg who uses lots of Zerglings. You can do various transitions depending on what you scout. So it's designed to overwhelm the Zerg and gain map control at an alarming rate that could cause you to just be able to push into the Zerg and kill a lot of drones. We start off with our 10th supply depot. When you're at 9 workers, you can rally your command center to the front, and as your SCV travels over, we make another SCV. Then we build a supply depot with this SCV that's traveled over, and we fix back the rally. The SCV that built the supply depot will then be making our barracks at 12 supply. It'll be 12 supply because once the barracks is finished, or while it's building, you'll be kept at 11. And then you can make another SCV queued up, which will not build until the supply depot has finished, immediately putting you at 12 supply. At 13 supply, or 14, we can get a refinery. The timing is not too picky. Preferably, I normally pick 13 supply. This gives me a little bit faster gas, allowing the Hellions to come out sooner. However, with a 14th supply, we are less likely to be supply block. 14th refinery, we are less likely to be supply blocked because we'll be able to produce more supply depots a little bit faster with the excess minerals. We get the supply depot at the front, and we don't produce any units. This is the tricky part. The reason why we don't build any units is because we don't need to. We scout with the SCV that finished the supply depot. We're going to go ahead and scout out the Zerg space with this SCV, and we're not going to be making a unit until we need to. We will then be repairing the wall if any attack comes. With the 14th gas, we do want gas as fast as we can, but we wanted a little bit more minerals because of our expansion going down first. After the expansion in our own base, at about 17 supply, we then drop a factory and then resume SCV production. And at 50 gas, we create a reactor. Now we have no units out on the map, but we have a command center and a factory and a reactor on the way. We scout out the Zerg to make sure that there is an expansion here, which there is. This type of build only works against expanding Zergs. Once this SCV is done building this factory, we will have it start building another factory and repeat the same initial process that we had in this setup. The factory will be placed on the side, a reactor will be placed down over here, and then we will be swapping them once again. We are building 2 Hellions, another supply depot the moment we start producing Hellions, an orbital command. With these Hellions, we scout out the map. We produce 2 more right away, but you can either scout them out here or have an SCV out on the map. Since I already have an SCV out, I don't send these Hellions out. If you see roaches attacking, you will immediately want to switch to Widow Mines so that you can defend them at your ramp with the Widow Mines. If you see Zerglings, you will continue SCV production. You will build a tech lab with this barracks, just in case it is a roach transition, and then you can swap the barracks and the factory, so you can produce double marine, double widow mine, and siege tank. This will quickly deter any roach aggression. At about 38 supply, you do want to start another supply depot. And once you feel safe, you can move your orbital command down to the bottom portion of the map. I am now producing 4 Hellions at a time. And I have 4 Hellions out onto the field, going to do some pressure and some scouting.
Your forces are under attack.
The 4 Hellions, I don't bother fighting the queens, I go straight for the workers.
Complete.
If there is a lot of resistance, you don't quite need to push up the ramp, and you can just stay outside of his base denying creep tumors, or just letting him know that you're there, forcing an overreaction. We did spot some roaches here, making us go Widow Mine. You want to start walling off the ramp. You start off on the outer edges with supply depots, working your way in. Another supply depot here, another supply depot here, and then a bunker here. This finishes the wall off. You want to space out the Widow Mines, just in case of a Baneling attack, so that Banelings, when they die, don't automatically blow up all of your Widow Mines. We are luring him. If you're not ready for his attack, simply send your Hellions into his base when he's trying to move out, and you will be able to draw attention away. When your Widow Mine defense has been completed, about 2 rounds should be sufficient. About 1 Widow Mine for every 2 roaches is an alright number. You want to go ahead and get a command center and double gas. This will put you on 3 orbital command, economy on 2 base. Still producing even more Widow Mines to further secure our defense. You can place them around the map to scout out. We start an engineering bay, same time, 9 minutes. That's the crucial key on starting an engineering bay. Crucial timing. And we move this barracks over, and we use him to make a tech lab. We will be going up to 4 or more factories this game. Once the engineering bay is finished, we start a missile turret. We don't quite need missile turrets, but I do usually get 1, 2, or 3 so I can feel safe. 1 in the production facilities, 1 in each mineral line. In this situation, I only get 1, just in case he was able to catch me off guard. This mineral line will be safe. We go up to double command center, or double orbital command extra. We throw down another one and 2 upgrades. With this type of defense, we are relatively safe against most attacks. It takes an incredible amount to be able to break this, and not many lower league players will be able to do this. The only way that you can be broken by this is a fast lair and lots of units, roaches, that are split up with an overseer trying to snipe your Widow Mines. Still, however, difficult to pull off because we do go for a Thor relatively fast around the time that attack would come. Once you've started double upgrades and you've placed your missile turrets, at least 1 just in the mineral line, and then 1 a little bit later near your production facilities, and then another 1 just in case of drops or mutalisks. You know, minerals at this stage of the game, when you take your 3rd, are something you can throw away into supply depots or missile turrets. So to feel safe, these are something we can place. Normally mutalisks hit your base around 12 minutes, 11 minutes. They can come sooner at about 10 minutes or 9 minutes and 30 seconds, which is why we get this early engineering bay. Drops can reach your base at about 13 minutes, which is why we get these missile turrets. Also for mutalisks to feel safe in a few locations. With our Thor out, we're producing Thor Hellbat at the moment, since we have a lot of Widow Mines. They deal a lot of splash damage, and they act like siege tanks. Then the Thor is meant to take out heavy units like roaches, and then the Hellbats are there to take out Zerglings. After our 1-1 upgrades are finished, we want to go up to 4 factories. We want to move our 3rd base, and then make this an orbital command. We want to be on 4 orbital commands by 3 bases, usually at the minimum. we do also want to end up getting to 5, or expanding really early to our 4th base, and then getting another 2 orbital commands. For the starport, we want a reactor, 1 reactor on the factory, and then the rest will be tech labs. So we can begin a lot of production for siege tanks or Thors, since we will have a lot of gas. Sometimes as a mech you will need to be able to build 3 supply depots at a time. Mech are very supply heavy units. Be sure to occasionally scam the Zerg player so that you can see exactly what's going on, what type of army comp he's getting.
Your forces are under attack.
With our strong economy and our double upgrades, we have a force that can really heavily defend the Zerg. Especially since we saw the Zerg make even more drones. This means that he's not making any attacking units at the moment, and we can feel safe in continuing to build our infrastructure. Going up to 7 factories, double production, and securing our 4th base. The gases are once again the most important thing. As you can tell, my gas is low, my minerals are high, but I'm getting double upgrades, factories, upgrade, widow mine upgrade, lots of widow mines, which also cost gas. Once I take this 4th base, we get 2 more command centers. This way we can throw away even more minerals on missile turrets, supply depots, hellbats, command centers, expansions, and not have to worry. Remember that our goal is to protect our bases so we can get the gas using the minerals, and then using the gas to attack the enemy player. From here on out, the game is relatively on what we scout. You've now seen the basic build order on how to pressure him, be safe, and really attack him. You can sometimes, if you have really excess minerals and not enough gas, get a reactor, a 2nd reactor on one of your factories. This is usually the case when you get double armory upgrades. If you have a single, you won't be needing to do this nearly as often. Auto turrets can be one of the more annoying things for the enemy player. The auto turret is really good at attacking mineral lines, buildings, anywhere where players are not defending, and drawing them out of position. In this case, we're going to be looking at a little bit more of a mobile mech composition. One of the ways that you can counter Thor Ultralisk, Ultralisk X, so Ultralisk with any composition, is by using Thors, which are naturally good against them, and then Widow Mines, and a few Hellbats. Watch this dance between the units. The Widow Mines are there to enable the splash damage, like siege tanks, but they are more mobile, but they're also not as efficient. They only have 1 shot to do their damage. As we think the player will attack into us, we burrow the Widow Mines and move a little bit away from them, and then we move back. When we think he won't be engaging, we move back into position. We move the Widow Mines up, we burrow them, move a little bit away, and then we move back. This type of dance is relatively strong. It can cause players to become restless and move into the Widow Mines, which is, in this large number, you do not want to move into already burrowed Widow Mines and good positioning. As a Zerg player, you would want to move into these Widow Mines if my army is on top of it. This would cause the Widow Mines to also splash my army, effectively killing mine with the splash damage. You don't want to bottleneck your army through the Widow Mines. You want to come as a surround, like siege tanks. Widow Mines are exactly like siege tanks, except their first shot is stronger single target. Their first shot is stronger and their only shot. The way you would engage these siege tanks is to come in from all sides. This way, they the splash damage doesn't hit every unit. We want to force the opponent into chokes, where he gets hit as many units as possible with the splash damage. So this is not something he wants to engage. One of the ways a Zerg player can stop this, Widowmine play, is with Infestors,
Is under attack. Mineral field depleted.
or Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts are effectively really good at attacking Widowmines with the Locusts, since they are free. Since the player is moving down here to attack this expansion, we decide to move into position. The Planetary Fortress, the Mass Repair, and the Supply Depot wall bought us enough time to get behind his army. Now, we can see his army coming because of this sensor tower. Getting into a good position, we get right onto the ramp where he has to move down and burrow. It also happens to be right on top of a few Vipers, gaining a few kills. Now he has one of two choices. He could move back, which I can see with the sensor tower. He can move up, which I can also see, or come through here. Either way, I can scan his army and get into a ramp position and then attack in a different direction. If he goes up here, I can place the Widow Mines and attack him head on. If he goes over here, I can place the Widow Mines, attack him, and send a few Hellbats to take out these expansions. If he goes here, I can place the Widow Mines and attack here, here, or here with a few Hellbats. He's a little bit trapped in this position. By killing this expansion, which was good, it denies gas, he effectively put him in a situation with a little bit of a dance. Let's see how this dance plays out, and how this mobile aspect of Micro has to unfold with these one-shot tank. These Widow Mines, they're like one-shot tanks. A neat little trick you can also do before we watch the battle is I don't have my Ravens in my army. I have them on my number 5. But to guarantee that they always stay with my army, and so they don't fly into battle when I don't want them to fly over the enemy units, by simply doing the move command, the Vikings will automatically move on top of enemy units if it has nothing to attack. Since Ravens don't attack, they will automatically fly over enemy units. I don't want to risk losing them, so I follow one of the biggest HPs of my army, the Thor. One of the biggest health points. It has 400 health and it's in the back. This guarantees that my Raven will almost always be in the back, not accidentally fly over his army, and I can just use him when necessary. This is a trick that I've been using a lot, and has helped my Micro in these fast movement, or attack pushing games, like that Doom pushes, Death pushes.
Your forces are under attack.
He splits up his army a little bit and puts the Ultralisks in front and decides to attack up here. What happens is, we move, here it comes the dance again, we move away from the Widow Mines so we don't get splashed. Then, we attack onto the Widow Mines. Once we're in range of causing damage, and being away from the Widow Mines, we go ahead and proceed to attack, so we don't get splashed, he gets splashed, and we do more damage. Widow Mines in this big cluster are great. Are great against Ultralisks if he doesn't have detection. You see, Widow Mines are one-shot wonders, as I've mentioned. To be able to really pay for themselves after the Ultralisks, after they spent their charge, is to stay alive. The only way to do that is to make sure that there are no Overseers left. Another reason why we have Vikings in our army. If the Ultralisks cannot kill the Widow Mines, we can use them again in the next battle. It takes approximately 17 seconds to build an Overseer. The Widow Mine cooldown is 40 seconds, which means that he has half the duration of a Widow Mine cooldown to not only make an Overseer, but to get to the Widow Mines, if I can't move them first, to kill them. Otherwise, they will do damage and can be reused. Widow Mines, more often than not, are just units that you kind of have to throw away. They're cheap, they're strong, but there's a specific way you have to use them. The longer you can make a Widow Mine survive, the better. they will be able to fire more shots for a lot less minerals and be more cost efficient. However, if you place them in wrong positioning or you let them get surrounded, they will not do a significant amount of damage and basically be free to the enemy player, especially with units like Ultralisks. Imagine, for example, if it was just the Widow Mines here, or if his army was better positioned. If he had some coming from here, and some coming from here, and some coming from here. The Zerg has always been a surround type race. It's never wanted to bottleneck against Mech and Wings of Liberty, and it still doesn't want to again in Heart of the Swarm. If he came from different directions, these Widow Mines would hit here and splash these units. These Widow Mines would hit here and splash these units, and these Widow Mines would hit here and splash these units, if they were Zerg units. This makes it so that not all of the units get splashed at the same time. He's moving directly into them, allowing all of his Ultralisks to be splashed. Let's see the result. In this case, the Widow Mines and a few Thors took out the Ultralisks very convincingly. We are, however, now out of charges, and he still has a reasonable amount of army. This is a problem in many situations. For example, we would need another 40 seconds to not only get his army out of here, or survive the battle, before these Widow Mines are useful again. This is dead supply. So the fight is actually now these Thors, these Hellbats, and these Ravens against these Hydralisks. For the next 40 seconds, these will be useless. Luckily, we planted some Hunter-Seeker missiles before the fight started, which definitely evened it up. Even then so, moving into the huge radius of the Widow Mine, if you exclude the Widow Mines, let's pretend they died because he had better positioning, he would actually lose. I mean, the army was actually relatively even at the end there. He would have actually won the battle pretty convincingly. It was because of his bad positioning and my superior positioning that I was able to win so convincingly. With Mech, pre-positional play is the most important thing of all the positional styles. Unlike Bio, where you position during the battle and before the battle, but like concave with Bio, and then you micro your units either away or towards the Protoss or Zerg or Terran player with Ghosts and Stutter Step. Mech is a little bit different. With Mech, it's more emphasis on what you do before the battle than during. With Bio, it's more what you do during the battle than before. As a good example of this is this wall. We're walling off with 3 supply depots and a single siege tank. This single siege tank will help slow down, deny, or flat out scare a player out of attacking into the space. It will also be able to deal more damage. We need these supply depots anyway, and putting a siege tank at a decent space behind it, at a way where he can definitely hit anything trying to attack the supply depots. This siege tank will be able to do more damage than what he would be able to do without these supply depots, since anything that comes up to here has to kill one before attacking the siege tank. We will automatically be able to get another extra 2, 3, 4 shots depending on what's trying to kill the supply depots, effectively increasing the amount of damage the enemy takes and reducing the amount of damage we take. In the meantime, we have this position. Supply depots to quickly wall off just in case. A siege tank ready to siege if we need it, but also able to come outside and help a fight. This way my base is defended, and I have units defending this point and this point by staying in between. They're all ready to be in the siege position. So I have here defended cost efficiently, here defended cost efficiently, and both entrances to either ramp with the most amount of units. By staying in between, I can either move on in this direction and easily defend or siege this tank, and he'll easily hit anything trying to get in here, or siege this tank, and he'll easily hit anything trying to get in here. Pre-positioning is incredibly important. You must remember that you want to be able to hit the enemy units with the majority of your units, while he's able to hit with a minimal amount of his units. This is the same as in bio play. The biggest difference here is that with mech, it has an even bigger emphasis. We have a lot of splash damage, so we want to force them into small chunks. But we are also very vulnerable to surrounds. Mech is very immobile. Unlike bio, where you can easily just stem and run away, mech is where, if you're in a bad situation, you will most likely lose your army. Emphasis on army positioning is the most important thing before the battle. You can't just run away. Mech are slow, clunky units that take time to get into position, especially with siege tanks. One of the ways to help that is by placing sensor towers, little supply walls, having units like Widow Mines placed in random locations, in attack paths. This is just one way to defend yourself and be in a ready position in case an attack comes. Another thing to note about mech is that since we're so immobile, it's difficult to expand in opposite directions. We need the use of our buildings to be able to pull this off effectively. In this situation, we have double planetary fortresses on a place where the Zerg is more likely to attack. The reason why he's more likely to attack here is because we have a sensor tower telling everything in advance in this direction. We have units, some sieged, available to help, Widow Mines placed down behind missile turrets or close to missile turrets, so that overseers are sent away. We can have a few in the back, we can have some in the front. In this situation, we have them in the back for battle. More often than not, you want Widow Mines to be in front of the siege tanks. However, so far in the game, we haven't displayed them too much, and we're relatively safe that we can relatively sure that we can reposition if we see an attack coming, considering we can see it from this far back more than enough time to reposition the siege tanks. With the planetary fortresses, this allows us to have less units here defending. We could place one siege tank here, one siege tank here, and some missile turrets around the planetary fortresses. This makes this an incredibly even trade, or efficient trade, for anyone trying to attack in this. You would need almost half, if not your whole army, to be able to break this without losing too much to the repair from the SCVs. Building armor is also a great thing that you can use when you're using double planetary fortress defenses, making it even stronger and scarier to attack into planetary fortresses. More often than not, you want them at least spaced 1 pixel away from each other. In this situation, I do not have it, but this is for Blinding Cloud, so it doesn't hit both planetary fortresses with one Blinding Cloud. You want some missile turrets to deter away a Mutalisk transition, or to force drops, overlords to take damage trying to drop on top of your units while you move away, or to scare overseers away. Vipers, if he's not paying attention, he will lose them to these missile turrets. We have most of our defense in this location because we can easily maneuver back up here if need be, since we have such an advance warning. This location would be a good example of a very cost-efficient trade. We have building armor, planetary fortresses, spaced out siege tanks, radar tower, and 3 missile turrets, 4 missile turrets even. This makes it harder for Vipers to go in and harass the space alongside Mutalisks, who now have to hug the side. But the biggest thing is the Vipers. The Vipers can't stay here. Overseers can't stay here, so if they have a problem clumping up their units into one hotkey, they will lose quite a bit. This will also help us detect for burrowed roaches, so we don't get surrounded. In this, we have invested about 300 gas in these planetary fortresses and 800 minerals. The minerals are, as you can tell, not a problem. Minerals are normally not an issue in Mac. It's, as I've mentioned, the gas. So, the siege tanks provide a lot of splash damage. Combined with the 40 Ibex cannon of the planetary fortress, these two will take out a lot of Zerglings, and these will take out a lot of roaches or hydras. You combine these with repair on the planetary fortresses, and you have a very well defended base, which you should have plenty of time in being able to get to, or delay the enemy in attacking here while you attack somewhere else.
Forces are under
Another
attack.
great positional play with using buildings to make it harder to attack planetary fortresses is here. This is a good example. We know that this player has been using Ultralisks this game. Using this defense, he has to break through these non-attacking supply depots to be able to get to our planetary fortress. With the sensor tower, we can see it coming in advance. We accidentally got to. With the sensor tower, we can see it coming in advance, and it takes even longer to go ahead and break into this base. Another great example of using your planetary fortresses is this fight, this location. You can tell that I have my planetary fortresses surrounded with SCVs, ready to repair. I have missile turrets blocking the way for the Ultralisks. It takes longer to surround this planetary fortress than normal, because of these missile turrets blocking the way. I have spacing here, so Viper cannot blinding cloud both of these. With one blinding cloud, it does require two. And the Ultralisks are having a hard time fitting up the ramp because we're blocking a huge section here and a huge section here. We will, once this finishes, be able to fire upon these Ultralisks for an extended amount of time, much longer than if it would be if these missile turrets were placed, I don't know, here, and we only had one planetary fortress. This is great, because we are not planning on defending this, we're planning on attacking. Let's see how long these planetary fortresses survive. Remember that while we watch this, the Zerg is already at my base. I am still on the way towards his. Take a careful note on the minimap on the progress of my army movement while we watch these planetary fortresses defend.
Mineral field depleted. Upgrade complete. Base is under attack. Forces are under attack. Mineral field depleted.
In the time that it took these Ultralisks to clear out these planetary fortresses, we've guaranteed that we can kill this base by taking up base defenses and leaving a few units, and we're already almost to his next base. This means that for one expansion, we were able to effectively trade two. The amount of time this takes to delay, and the amount of time it takes for him to get across the map, greatly ensures our ability to be able to inflict a lot of ecological damage. The planetary fortresses killed an Ultralisk, I believe. Even if it didn't, it weakened two of them. If he were to attack up here, he might be able to take out this base with the repair. However, two of the Ultralisks will go down. The Ultralisks are the biggest part of the damage. Once two Ultralisks are dead, SCVs can out-heal 3 Ultralisks before it starts becoming an issue. They can out-heal 3 non-stop. If these two died, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With 2 planetary fortresses defending, and it being easier to defend this base since our production facilities are right here, instead of having to travel from here to here, we'd only have to travel this short distance to defend this base. And the radar tower, sensor tower, will be able to tell us exactly if he attacks up here. However, attacking up here leaves not only this base defenseless. If we position ourselves in between here, we can shell this base with siege tanks, block the front with this base, and be right at the doorstep of his main. So even if he decided to attack this base, we would be able to get to the heart of his production facilities much faster. And he'd have to break through supply depots and reinforcements being built at home. We could simply rally our units right here, and not only would he have to break through these supply depots while our tanks would be firing at him, he would have to break through these. The only way he can respond is to head straight for my army, which is now about to take an economical lead, because we're going for his production, for his resources before he can get to us. After we've taken out the Zerg base, we send some Hellbats over here to harass this mineral line and are sieging tanks on our retreat. Sieging these siege tanks away from each other, we're actually able, let me lower this a little bit, we're actually able to weaken his army effectively. We're split up. What I mean by weaken effectively is that he's attacking one siege tank at a time with his Ultralisks, or two at the most. He has to travel in between the siege tanks. We're not going to be able to get away because of his speed. We have to engage him, so we're creating a position on the retreat. While we're retreating, we're splitting up tanks. We're keeping our main army kind of in the back, and by splitting the siege tanks up like this, the Viper is not able to do as much. One Viper will only be able to stop two siege tanks at max energy. However, only one of these is a max energy. So let's watch as this battle plays out. We use the Ravens to Hunter Seeker Missile, forcing him to run away from the fight. We use Point Defense Drone to stop the Hydralisks. If he does not run away, he is forced to take maximum damage from the Hunter Seeker Missile. Yes, he is able to engage the army, but he takes extra damage from the missile. If he does run away, I'm able to get into a more secure position and kill this base. Between the Hunter Seeker Missile, the Point Defense Drone, the tanks being kind of split up, we were able to effectively take out his main army, the army that was in the bottom right corner, while reinforcing with our own relatively soon. You don't always have to use attacking units to attack. Remember that spellcasters can also be useful. Having auto turrets in locations where it would be difficult to kill can be extremely handy at drawing him out of position. For example, if he's cleared up this base, he has to travel all the way around to take out these auto turrets, which means that he's getting farther away from this base while I go ahead and regain control. He'll also be moving away from my attacking army, so I can get into another position, if I do, to be able to attack him even more. Another neat thing you can do is find clumped up overlords. Remember that Hunter Seeker missiles do splash damage. However, to make sure that the overlords don't regenerate an extra HP, it does require 3 Hunter Seeker missiles to kill them. Yes, we would be able to fire on them with the auto turrets. However, it would not be able to do nearly as much damage, and the overlords will most likely be able to get away. In this scenario, that's not the case. By doing this little bit of harass with energy from the Raven, we're able to futurely supply block him, forcing him to spend minerals and time, kill his workers, draw him out of position, while we go ahead and get into a different one to deny another base. And secure another base. Notice how he has to go all the way around to take out these auto turrets, delaying him even further. Some of the popular Zerg compositions are Mutalisk, Baneling, Zergling, which you counter with Siege Tank, Thor, Hellbat. and a few Widow Mines sprinkled in. With Swarm Hosts, you want to have Raven, Siege Tank, and Hellbats. If they mix in air units, you want to throw in Thor. And if they mix in Broodlords, you want to unsiege your siege tanks after they're done firing on locusts. You have to target fire the locusts and then unsiege your tanks and then re-siege them. Once you force his Broodlords away or the locusts are back into range, you always have to make sure that you have about a 1 siege tank to 1.5 swarm host ratio. As long as you have buffer units, that should be fine. For Broodlord Infestor, Thor, Hellbat, Raven, Viking is an excellent composition. You'll notice that the more air units he throws in, the more Thors we use, and the more Ravens. Actually, against Swarm Host, Ravens are really good as well, because Swarm Hosts, when they burrow, they tend to clump up. And if he burrows them, you can get Hunter-Seeker missiles. If you're close to them, they will go off. And he has to split his units up, or take a huge amount of damage. 3 Hunter-Seeker missiles, I believe, is the critical amount of number, 3 or 4, to be able to kill a Swarm Host. If they're clumped up, you can take out a large cluster of Swarm Hosts with just the Raven energy. Point Defense Drone, which is also a Raven spell, actually affects Swarm Hosts. So, if you're still sieging, you can drop a few Point Defense Drones and not take any damage. With Roach, Hydra, Viper, you want Widow Mines. Against Vipers, Widow Mines are one of the more effective things. Vipers are kind of the bane of mech. However, as much as you would believe Vikings to be the counter, they actually aren't. You see, the Viking has about the same range as the Viper. The Viper is able to lay down Blinding Cloud before it dies. As long as it gets the spell off, it's been effective in battle. However, your Viking is kind of dead weight. You do want to mix in a few to help snipe Overseers, or attack Vipers. However, to have something that attacks under the cloud, you need spells, like Hunter-Seeker Missile, or Hellbats. Hellbats are good under clouds. Thors and Siege Tanks, however, are not. The Widow Mines attack is considered a spell effect. By enabling this to be a spell effect, the Blinding Cloud doesn't completely hard counter mech. By using the Widow Mine, you can be a little bit more mobile, and you can play a little bit more aggressive against Roach, Hydra, Viper. However, you still have to be careful with your siege tanks. You have to be in a good position so that if he gets a Blinding Cloud down, which the Widow Mines aren't there entirely to prevent, the Blinding Cloud, the Widow Mines attack is to mostly splash the Roach, Hydra, Viper, but they are pretty good at taking out Vipers that fly over them, of course. Their main job is to splash, so that the less siege tanks you have attacking, the enemy's overall army still takes a lot of area of effect damage. So you need less siege tanks to kill him. So if he gets Blinding Cloud down on top of your tanks, but you have Widow Mines that are firing, you will need less tanks to kill the ground army. You won't have less tanks, they'll just be unable to attack. If you combine the Widow Mine with great positioning, with a siege tank, it actually trades really evenly with Roach, Hydra, Viper. The Roach, Hydra, Viper is more mobile though, so you have to remember not to stretch yourself too thin without planetary fortresses. Against Ultralisks, Thors are your answer. But you also want to mix in, once again, a few Widow Mines. The reason for this being is that with Thors are almost always Vipers. And if not Vipers, there are definitely a lot of Hydralisks. Now, with the new buff that the Hydralisk got, Ultralisk Hydra is very mobile. And it's really hard to stay up with that because the Ultralisk is a bigger, beefier version of the Roach. It can take a lot more damage, and that way Splash is not nearly as effective, so we need more single target damage. This would be the Thor. Now we need these ultras to die fast. You want to face them in kind of bottleneck positions, but then the Viper is a problem. So really the Widow Mine allows the army to be more mobile. You need something to also kill the Hydralisks. Thors are okay against them, but Hydras are, I believe they trade pretty evenly as well. So Widow Mine's again the answer there. If you can evaporate the Thor line, the Ultralisk line, by being in an excellent position with your Thors and having all your Widow Mines fire on top of the Ultralisk, his Hydras will survive because he can just run away, but you were able to deter the battle. More often than not, though, you will trade evenly with Ultralisks. You will trade worse if you are not in the best position, or don't have the best army composition if you don't have enough Thors, or you will win superiorly if he attacks you in a line without Viper support. The Viper and the Widow Mine are the new dances of Heart of the Swarm. The Viper without the Widow Mine is imbalanced, and the Widow Mine without the Viper is imbalanced. These two units are actually pretty good at closing each other off, because the Viper stops the other part of the mech army from attacking, but the Widow Mine still can. While the Widow Mine on top of the mech army is incredibly superior in its area of effect damage, and will be able to decimate Zerg armies if you can't stop them from attacking. Some of the popular ways that would be is to stop the Widow Mines from attacking by sending Overlords over them and forcing them to blow their charges, by dropping units on top of the mech army, coming into a huge surround, or by using Vipers. You can even use Infestors instead of Vipers to freeze the Widow Mines in place. The Infestor is also a counter to the Widow Mine. Between the Infestor and the Viper, the Zerg has 3 good ways to stop the Terran army, from using Widow Mines anyway, which is the Swarm Host as well. But for more mobile armies, the Infestor and the Viper help balance out the Widow Mine, while the Widow Mine helps balance out the new mobility that Zerg has gotten in this expansion. These are my thoughts on some of the counters in Heart of the Swarm. The Widow Mine also filled some gaps, which made it hard to defend some various all-ins and cheeses like Roach, Baneling. And the Widow Mine made it easier to deal with Mutalisk transitions, as long as you're backed up by missile turrets. Putting a single Widow Mine on top of or behind a missile turret is pretty good at defending a location. One of the problems with Widow Mines is that they can't attack buildings. This is balanced, though. With Widow Mines, you need a healthy army support. You need a decent amount of Hellbats to stop Zerglings. I would say about 6 would be a good key. Maybe 3 or 4. You need a decent Thor count if he has Ultralisks or Broodlords, which he most likely does at the end stage of the game. And you need a healthy siege tank count if he has a lot of Roach, Hydra, Viper. You can go Hellbat, Thor, Widow Mine to counter this. However, you have no way of really forcing him into many engagements. He's more mobile than you. You can't be as cost efficient. The siege tank paired with the Widow Mine is pretty good at these glass cannon units like the Hydralisk. So you really want some siege tanks in there. And then the later the game goes on, you want more Ravens. Over the course of the game, your army composition should look like a step process. In the beginning, does he have Zerglings or Roaches? If he has Zerglings, you want Hellions or Hellbats. If he has Roaches, you want Siege Tanks or Widow Mines. And then, for the late stage game units, for the middle game, you want to go, is it going Roach, Hydra, Viper? I'm going to go Widow Mine, Siege Tank, a few Hellbat, maybe some Vikings, a Thor here and there, and some missile turrets. Does he have Swarm Hosts? I want to get Siege Tank, Raven, Hellbat. Does he have Mutalisks? I need Widow Mine, Hellbat, Thor. The Hellbat is for Zerglings, because Mutalisks take a lot of gas, and Zerglings are a pretty big dump of minerals, so You know, there's usually always Zerglings involved with these heavy gas units. These are my thoughts so far on Heart of the Swarm. I definitely hope that you guys were able to learn from this experience a little bit on positioning, counters, build orders, and seeing me play my style. I will try to further grow my understanding of mech. So far, I have a pretty decent win-loss ratio as mech. Even though I haven't been playing as much on North America and have dropped a little bit on the ladder, I've peaked at top 25. Since I've been spending this week playing Europe, I've dropped down to 128, but I have quite a bit of bonus pool, so I could easily get back into the top 50s. I'm not terribly concerned. You can see that my statistics as mech shows that I have a high understanding of the Terran against Zerg matchup. These statistics are a little bit skewed because they also show the beginning of the season. In Europe, it's a much more closer similarity at 60% all across the board. Even though this does even out to be 60%, Zergs have gotten a little better at countering my style. Not countering, predicting my style. I face a lot of the same Zergs in Europe. Since I don't play here as much, this hasn't been as much of a problem. And my Terran against Zerg, I would arguably say, is my best matchup simply because I understand it really well. I have no confusion about the matchup on what to do whenever. I haven't felt confused about this matchup in a long time. Even since Wings of Liberty, it's always been my best matchup. So, against Protoss, I was losing a little bit more than I am now. I understand this matchup a lot better than I did at the beginning of launch. So this should be higher, and it is on the European server. I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial, and I might make more for Terran and Protoss soon. I wanted to try a video tutorial over a written one so I can show you more examples and be a little bit more in depth. I'm not sure if I'll accompany this with some words, but I do think that the information here is good for everyone. I definitely think that this could be beneficial for any player trying to mech. So thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to my stuff. If you would like to see more tutorials, feel free to visit my YouTube channel. And if you would like to see live games, feel free to visit my streaming channel.
Upgrade complete. Add-on complete. Your forces are under attack. Upgrade complete. Your forces are under attack. Your forces are under attack. Add-on complete. Your forces are under attack. Base is under attack. Upgrade complete. Your forces are under attack. Upgrade complete.